on fire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend.
Yeah.
So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. Waking up every day, lifting him from the bed to the wheelchair to the car to get him to therapy on time, it's no small task between the doctors and the diagnosis, but nothing can disable this love. This is my big brother, my hero. He's part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. See, there's no time for tired. This starts again tomorrow. He'll be waiting for me. I wake up for him. I know he needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community, or call 877-333-5885. Caregiving Resource Center. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do. Oh, tell the world I see. With an emoji. To stop the bullies.
Know someone who's being bullied online? Send the witness emoji. It looks like an eye in a speech bubble, and it's in the symbol section near the clocks in your phone. You'll let the world know it isn't cool, and you'll let your friend know you care. Learn more about the witness emoji at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Broadcasting from coast to coast.
City to city, coast to coast.
It's time for the Ryan Hickey Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. If it's happening in sports, it's being talked about right here. And here's your host, Ryan Hickey.
Good Monday morning and welcome into the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. As you just heard, it is the Ryan Hickey Show with you back from vacation. Had a little celebratory weekend, or a few days in Montauk, I should say. We will get into that. A lot of fun. Nice to be on the beach, hang with the family for a little bit. But as great as that was, it is great to be back with you right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network on this Monday morning. Because, wow, we have a jam-packed, loaded show for you for the next 2 hours as we go until 11 a.m. Eastern. Deshaun Watson, could he potentially be on the move? We have some news that we will update you here in a second. Why one potential popular landing spot for him makes absolutely no sense at all. We will get into that. Speaking of quarterbacks being on the move, we know Aaron Rodgers. Really no news has come out that's been too different from what we talked about the last few months. But how about his teammate? Would it make sense for the Packers to start really going all in on the future? My answer is yes, and there's one big move that could help that. We will do that in 15 minutes or so from now. The 5 most boom or bust teams in the NFL. Massive college news continues to unfold here. Texas and Oklahoma. Today, from reports of what we've heard, will inform the Big 12 they will be leaving the conference to at least potentially put themselves in line to join the SEC as long as that is approved. Does it make sense for Texas specifically for them to want to go to the SEC? We'll discuss that. Like I said, a lot to get into between now and 11 a.m. Eastern. As always, we're coming to you live from the Big Italy Pizzeria Studios, where there's great pizza, hot heroes, and phenomenal dinners. Check out BigItalyPizza.com to find a location near you. So like I said, the big news of the day so far came around 90 minutes before the show as I'm getting ready to get going here. And that is a report from Tom Pelissero that the Texans finally seem to come to grips with reality and will be listening to offers on Deshaun Watson. So that's where I want to start here. Because for me, in my mind, seeing that report, it cements one thing. To me, this means Deshaun Watson is getting traded before week 1 of this season. His future's been in limbo. There's been a ton of questions. There really hasn't been a ton of speculation really ever since his legal issues off the field started coming about, because with that status being unknown, with no punishment being handed down as of yet, with no real knowledge of whether Watson will be eligible to play this year, whether he will be traded at all, there was a lot of questions that really held up any potential Deshaun Watson trade talk. But now that he has finally reported to Texans training camp, to me, it absolutely cements that he'll be traded before week 1 of this season. Do you agree? Agree or disagree? A few ways to get involved with the show. Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Twitter, WWSRN_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter as well. Go to either Facebook or Twitter. Right there on those names we gave you, that's where the live stream of the show can be found. Comment right there in the comment section. Do you think Deshaun Watson will be traded before week 1 of the season? And my answer is yes, because a few things have happened recently that have me thinking that answer is yes. First, let's go back to yesterday, Sunday. Deshaun Watson officially reported for the start of Texans training camp. First time he's been back with the team since he made that trade demand back in January. First time now he's back with the team in an official capacity since January. Again, the last time we heard that, he made his trade demands official. Now, 2 reasons Deshaun Watson decided to report to Texans training camp, right? Because, hey, he is the one who wanted out. He was the one who demanded a trade when the entire process of the Texans trying to find a new general manager that became Nick Caserio and a new head coach that eventually became David Culley. Before that just was a total mess and a total disaster. But it makes sense for 2 reasons why Deshaun Watson reported to Texans training camp yesterday, despite wanting a trade, despite wanting out. And I think now, this Tom Pelissero report that we'll get into here just in a second also hammers home the fact that Deshaun Watson made the right move in reporting to training camp. So number 1, selfishly for him, saves him a ton of cash. Every single day he missed of Texans training camp, he would be fined $50,000. And I know he just signed a mega deal, getting over $40 million a year from the Texans. But still, $50K a day is still a high price to pay for not being there. He wants to save his money, smart for him. So now he at least will not get fined, and he will keep that $50K a day in his own pocket. That's number 1. You save yourself some money. Number 2, I do think his presence, his being at training camp, forces the Texans' hand to trade him sooner rather than later. Right? Now that he is visible, now that he's at Texans training camp, even if he's not practicing, even if he's not taking reps, but just on the sideline, just him being there, I think forces the hand and it forces the Texans to trade him more than maybe earlier they would, because there's always going to be now more drama with him there, now that we can see him, rather than if he was just sitting at home on the couch, not practicing, not reporting. I think it's less drama and less of a storyline, because in a way, in a sense, there is a little out of sight, out of mind when you are not in training camp, right? If he was holding out, don't get me wrong, there'd be questions. There'd probably be questions every single day to David Culley, to players on the Texans after practice. Deshaun Watson would still be the main story, especially when you look at the roster. This team stinks. Like, they might win 4 games this year if Deshaun Watson played the entire year. So now if you take him off the roster, there's really nothing to talk about with the Texans, right? So the main story, the main focus is still going to be Deshaun Watson, even if he's not physically there, even if he is holding out. But now that the media can see him, now that the fans can see him just on the sidelines, again, even if he's not practicing, it still just adds extra drama. It still kind of brings extra attention to the situation. And there'll be more questions of when will he be traded? Will he be traded? How's the relationship going? What's the holdup? What's the delay? What's his status legally? Could he play? Could he not play? I think there's just more questions. There's more attention towards the Texans if he is physically there, which we know he will be. So his training camp, or I should say his presence, at training camp, will, I think, expedite a trade. And like I said, that seems to be working because he reported yesterday, went for his physical, went for his COVID testing. And now today, 24 hours later, you had this NFL Network report from Tom Pelissero just about 90 minutes ago. And this was the tweet from Pelissero. The Texans are now willing to listen, and have been for some time, to trade offers for star QB Deshaun Watson. Multiple sources tell Pelissero and Ian Rappaport. But the price is high for a player of his caliber, and it should be. It likely take 3 first-round picks and more. So now this report from Pelissero is huge for one main reason. It is finally public. It is finally basically out in the open that the Texans have come to grips with reality. They are giving up on trying to work with Deshaun Watson to keep him in Houston. They've also come to grips that, you know what, off the field, we can still, despite the legal uncertainty, despite really that his status for 2021 and beyond is unknown, they are still, at this point, being and feeling comfortable they can still get fair market value for Deshaun Watson and no more waiting. They are done waiting. They are ready to kind of make their move and now start looking towards the future. So, to me, mission accomplished for Deshaun Watson. You didn't want to be there. You were obviously a lot of concerns off the field, but if you just to look at his on-the-field presence and we look at his future with football, he was not going to play another down with the Texans. So either he could have sat out, not played this year, but by showing up, now you have the Texans finally saying, okay, fine, we will listen to offers, we will see what deals we can get back. Mission accomplished. I think also his reporting to training camp, and another reason why I feel confident that he will be traded before week 1, is because it gives some answers. Not a lot, but some answers to his legal matters off the field and his status for the 2021 season. So he reported yesterday, the NFL could have put him on the exempt list as soon as he walked in the building. They could have said, you know what, you're going to get paid leave. You're not going to be on the sideline. You're not going to be in meetings. You're not going to be with the Texans at all. You are going to be sitting home. You'll be getting paid, so you won't be getting fined. But on the exempt list, it's basically you're going to be sitting home until we can figure out legally what's going to go on. But that didn't happen. He showed up yesterday. Nothing happened. So he's allowed to practice if he wanted to. We do know the civil suits and the subpoenas for that won't start until early next year. I believe February was when they're going to start interviewing the 22 women who were charging or pressing civil matters against Deshaun Watson. So we know, at least off the field, his in-court battles with the civil suits won't be settled until very early next year at the absolute earliest. So now that he at least has reported to training camp, he hasn't been put on the exempt list, he's been allowed to practice, that should give teams somewhat of an idea, somewhat of a clue that he really, barring any unforeseen circumstances, if everything stays the same the way it is now, if the status quo with his legal issues off the field remain what they are right now, he should be allowed to play this season. And I say should in terms of not he should be allowed, but in terms of that right now with no action, he will be allowed to play, barring nothing else coming up right now. So that gives teams at least some sort of idea and clarity that, okay, if we trade for Deshaun Watson now, we at least have a good sense that he will be on the field and be able to play for us this year. So again, while there's still a ton of questions and there's still so much to go legally going forward, teams can at least have some idea that, okay, for 2021, we make this trade, he should be on the field and we can at least get some bang for our buck right now. So at least now teams on the fence like the Eagles, the Dolphins, the Broncos have one clue. Not the entire picture. They have one clue. So that's why I think you add this all up. Deshaun Watson reporting to training camp. Deshaun Watson not being put on the exempt list. Kind of all now equals. And now you have the report from Tom Pelissero that the Texans are listening to offers for the first time. Their public line has been either, one, we can't really talk about Deshaun and his future right now for legal issues. And two, we're not taking draft calls. We're not taking trade offers. We're not listening to any offer about Deshaun Watson. That rhetoric, that company line, if you will, that has been uttered from the Texans really since January is finally being reversed. It is finally now, okay, we are going to listen to trade offers. We will see the best offer we can get, and it's going to be a damn good offer in our minds. 3 first-round picks and more is what Tom Pelissero is reporting, that's what the Texans are looking for in a Deshaun Watson trade. So that's why I think you add it all up. This equals him getting traded before week 1 of the 2021 season. I think he'll be on a new team by the time this season starts. Now, will he play? That's another question. But at least right now, the answer to that question is yes, considering that he's allowed to practice, he's allowed to show up to training camp and partake in team activities. Which shouldn't preclude him, you would think, from playing on the field week 1 should nothing else legally pop up right now. So you give teams a little more comfort, give teams a little more of an answer or directive in terms of knowing his future, because there's still a lot of unknown right now. But you get one sort of clue or hint at what the future could hold if you do trade for Deshaun Watson right now. So I think you add all these up, I do think week 1 he'll be traded. Do you agree? WWSR Ryan_radio on Twitter, at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter as well. Do you think Deshaun Watson will be traded before week 1? Also comment on Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network. We will get your thoughts on Deshaun Watson. What a potential trade for Deshaun Watson could look like. Where's the best landing spot for Deshaun Watson? We'll get into it towards the end of the show. But the Eagles have been really the consensus popular pick because they have a ton of draft picks. They could, if Carson Wentz basically doesn't get hurt, we'll have 3 first-round picks in next year's draft. So they have the draft capital to trade for Deshaun Watson. But to me, it makes 0 sense for Deshaun to want to go to the Eagles. I'll explain that in 10:40 here in Quick Hitters. But where do you think Deshaun Watson should get traded to? Which team should make a move to trade for Deshaun Watson? Do you think a trade will go down before week 1? Again, Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network, Twitter, WWSRN_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter as well. When we do come back, we're talking about one disgruntled quarterback in Houston, that's Deshaun Watson. As we know, there's another disgruntled quarterback in Green Bay. That is Aaron Rodgers. We have talked a ton about Aaron Rodgers and his future. I think he's done. But something else that could maybe even hammer that home even more could be the status of his teammate going forward. We'll explain that and why the Packers need to go all in on their future right now by making one major move. Tell you what that move is in 3 minutes when the Ryan Hickey Show does return right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Of course my kid's in the right car seat. Well, I think he is.
Yeah, my kid's in a booster seat. He was ready to move up. He is ready, right?
Her car seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing? I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know. Know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures, a stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college. This is beyond a simple donation. It's the opportunity for America to invest in its kids and take an active stake in the future of the country. The return on your investment isn't money. What you get back is knowing you protected our potential. So one day, that potential can grow up to become surgeons and architects, executives and engineers. People who can change the future just by being a part of it. My name is Alicia, and I'm your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
This is Nnamdi Asamoah. I play football for the Philadelphia Eagles, but what I do off the field with United Way might be more important. I'm a volunteer tutor and mentor. Why? Because over 1 million kids a year drop out of school. and that's not okay. It takes 12 years to create a graduate, but it takes about the same time to create a dropout. And the difference between a child becoming one or the other could be me, or it could be you. Studies show that if we get to these kids earlier, their chances are better, and kids who read well by 3rd grade are more likely to graduate. So join me in United Way. Suit up and take the pledge. Become a volunteer reader, tutor, or mentor, because when a child succeeds, we all succeed. Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Take the pledge at unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way, the Ad Council, and the National Football League.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And welcome back in to the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. I apologize for the hoarse voice. I'm not even sure why that is. This just happened this morning. I haven't talked for a week, so I'm not sure why, but hopefully before the end of the show here, we can correct that, and if it's bothering you, my apologies. We will try to have it fixed by Thursday for sure. So we just talked about Deshaun Watson. I think he's going to be traded before week 1 because of the Tom Pelissero report this morning that the Texans are finally listening to trade offers. You had Deshaun Watson report to training camp yesterday, was not put on the exempt list, is allowed to practice, can go to team meetings, can attend team events if wanted to. So right now, there seems to be no discipline headed toward Deshaun Watson's way, at least in the immediate future. So now with the Texans listening to offers, at least teams having an idea that for right now, if you trade for Deshaun Watson today, he could practice. In theory, he could play for week 1, assuming, and as obviously that's a big assumption, that no other legal cases against him come forward. But for right now, teams can feel comfortable in knowing that Deshaun Watson would be on the field if they make a trade for him right now. I think you add all that up. To me, that adds for a Deshaun Watson trade going down before week number 1. But as we know, he's not the only disgruntled quarterback in the NFL. Aaron Rodgers, we have talked about him a ton. But there's a new angle in the Green Bay Packers saga between the organization and the quarterback. There's a new wrinkle that I think now hammers home the point even more that it's time to trade Aaron Rodgers. So now when you're sitting here, it is July 26th. Packers training camp opens up this week. And as we know, really, the Packers have tried to play both sides so far with their organizational philosophy, right? Especially with Aaron Rodgers. They want to be competitive in the short term. They want Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback. They still have a Super Bowl caliber team, right? They've gone 13-3 the past 2 seasons, have made it to the NFC title game in back-to-back years. They want to both compete in the short term right now with Aaron Rodgers while also preserving their long-term future with Jordan Love, right? That's really the crux of the issue as to why Rodgers is disgruntled with the organization. And that's why right now there's a threat that Rodgers could be elsewhere for 2021. He doesn't be jerked around that long. He wants long-term security. The Packers are not willing to budge on their long-term project with Jordan Love. So the Packers have played both sides. But in my mind, it is now time for Green Bay to fully commit to the future by trading both Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams this offseason. That's right. Trade Rodgers and Adams before the season starts. To me, that is what the Packers should do. That is what the Packers have to do if they want to continue to be competitive in the long run. Think about it. If they were to trade both of them, you could trade them in 2 different teams. You could probably get back, 5 first-round picks, maybe even more than that? And that is really the perfect way to give Jordan Love what he needs to be successful in the long term. Not just have 1 year where he's great, but build a sustainable winner. Because that is what the Packers live for. Let's go for what it is. The Packers' main goal for their organization, it's not to win a Super Bowl. It's to be relevant. It is to be in the Super Bowl conversation every year. It is to make the playoffs, but that's it. They've never gone all in part because they don't want to jeopardize their long-term success for now a short-term focus to try to win the Super Bowl in a year or two. So guess what? It's time to give up for 1 year on the present, go all in on the future. The way you do that is by trading Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams. Let me explain. So here is the reason to trade Davante Adams. Craziness, right? That is an absurd statement, but I think once you listen to what I'm saying, it makes sense. The reason you trade Davante Adams now is because you are unlikely to re-sign him. Over the weekend, Ian Rappaport reported that contract extension talks between Davante Adams and the Packers have stopped. Adams now is in the final year of his deal. He'll be a free agent next year. His goal in contract negotiation talks with the Packers was to become the highest paid receiver in the NFL. And according to Rappaport, the offer or offers that the Packers made never reached that. We don't know what the difference is. We don't know if it's $1 million. We don't know if it's $10 million. But what we do know is that the negotiations never reached a point where Adams would have became the number one highest paid receiver in the NFL. And now we know that it's, I guess, contentious enough that the talks have completely now stopped. They're not working through it. They are now not talking at all. So what do we know also about the Packers? Kind of going back to what I said before, their goal is for long-term success. Well, part of the way you do that is by really never making big-time contracts that can sink a team. So they rarely, if ever, right, give out big-time free agent deals. When was the last time they signed a free agent to a massive deal? Can't really think of one. They prefer to build the team through the draft. And by trading Davante Adams, you are now giving yourself plenty of extra picks to build your team through the draft. Right, so if you're not going to re-sign him, what is the point of letting Adams play on a 1-year deal and then leave? You get what, a third-round compensation pick if he plays this year, signs with any other team, signs with the Raiders, signs with the Chargers, wherever. That's it. You're going to just be okay with getting a third-round pick for one of the best receivers in the NFL? He's the only receiver. I know it's, maybe semantics a little bit, but Madden just is releasing their 99 club. There's only one receiver in the 99 club this year. It's Davante Adams. You're not going to be okay with getting just a third-round pick back, a compensatory third-round pick, for right now, the best receiver in the NFL. Last year, he had 115 receptions, 1,300 yards, 18 touchdowns. Those 18 touchdowns led the NFL. And not only did he put up those big-time stats last year, not only to me did he play like the best receiver in the NFL, he did so with also no help around him. He never really had a consistent number 2 wide receiver that took pressure off of him. Every single game Davante Adams went into, the defenses were trying to stop him. You had Marquez Valdez-Scantling never really step up to be a consistent threat. Allen Lazard, Equanimeous St. Brown. Like, we could go on and on about the Packers receiver depth behind Adams. It wasn't really that good or consistent. So he was able to put up those huge numbers essentially by himself when it's just him and Aaron Rodgers. So if you're the Packers, long-term extension talks have been cut off. If you don't want to pay Adams the money he deserves, you have to trade him right now. You cannot afford to basically let him walk out the building for free. With 1 year left, it is time to commit to your future. And by doing so, you trade Davante Adams, get a few first-round picks back. Because guess what? Even though he's in the final year of his deal, right? Even though this is the last year, then he'll become a free agent after this year. So whatever team trades for him gets one guaranteed year. There is still precedent for the Packers to get a massive haul. Because guess what? Adams isn't the first. He won't be the last player to be traded on the last year of a contract. Let's go back a few years ago. Remember Khalil Mack? Before he was with the Bears, he was with the Raiders. He was going into the last year of his rookie deal. The Raiders traded Khalil Mack to the Bears for 2 first-round picks. The Jaguars, when Jalen Ramsey was part of that team in Jacksonville, he was traded to the Rams for 2 first-round picks. Now, he had 1.5 years because he was traded in season. He had 1.5 years left in his deal. But both the Rams, when they traded 2 first-round picks for Jalen Ramsey, the Bears, when they traded 2 first-round picks for Khalil Mack, they both knew that not only are we trading 2 first-round picks for one of the best players on the defensive side, we also now have to give him a massive deal. You're not trading 2 first-round picks for 1 year of Khalil Mack and 1.5 years of Jalen Ramsey. So both of those teams, the Bears and the Rams, made and gave up 2 first-round picks knowing we're going to have to make this player basically the highest paid player on the defensive end or for his position. And both the Raiders and the Jaguars got 2 first-round picks back. So now, if you look at Davante Adams, to me, even though he's on the last year of his deal, he 100% would garner 2 first-round picks back in a trade. Even though we're 6 weeks away from the season starting, even though you have to give a fat extension and probably make him the highest paid player in terms of being a receiver in the NFL, he's still worth it because guess what? He's 28 years old, still young, made the Pro Bowl now 4 consecutive seasons, and he was an All-Pro in 2020. The market is going to still be fierce for Davante Adams because he's still a damn good player. So tell me how it makes sense. If you think I'm crazy, then tell me how it makes sense for the Packers to hold on to Davante Adams this year. It doesn't make any sense. If you aren't able to lock down and bang out a contract negotiation or a contract extension now, what makes you think you can get one done after next season? His price isn't going down. We saw even if he gets injured, Dak Prescott still received a higher salary after shattering his ankle than he did before the year started. Davante Adams, I think, is going to have another tremendous year, assuming Aaron Rodgers is there. His price isn't going down, it's only going up. So if you can't get it done now, I don't think the Packers and Adams will ever be able to get a long-term extension done. So then again, I ask you, if you're only going to have 1 year of Davante Adams left, why does it make sense to have him play 1 more year, let him walk in free agency, and then just get a compensatory 3rd-round pick back? It doesn't make sense. It does not make sense to allow the best receiver in the game to essentially go for free. That's why the Packers have to act now and act quickly. Trade Davante Adams, get 2 first-round picks back. Start building your team through the draft. Start building it with Jordan Love in mind. They built this team with Aaron Rodgers in mind now for the last 15 years, as they should. But now, if the Packers are dead set on the future being Jordan Love, you got to start giving Jordan Love now a team that mirrors what he does well. 2 first-round picks will help that. So, hey, that to me is the reason why you trade Davante Adams. Get picks back. Don't let him go for free. And the reason to trade Aaron Rodgers, we talked about this a ton, but I'll repeat myself a little bit here, is that I personally don't think he's ever going to play for Green Bay again. Haven't really budged on that since it came out in April that he was unhappy. And so far, it doesn't seem like Aaron Rodgers is going to budge on his long-term security. Right? You had the report last week that the Packers gave him a 2-year extension to be the highest-paid quarterback in the NFL. He rejected that. We don't know the terms. We don't know still if there was, basically it was all guaranteed, or if there was still an out the Packers could have used in a year or two to still keep Jordan Love, keep that plan still on track. We don't know. What we do know is Rodgers turned down yet another contract extension from the Packers. So he's not going to budge on his demands. And if the Packers aren't budging on their future plans of Jordan Love being the quarterback, a deal is never going to come together in terms of keeping Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. So now it makes the most sense if you're the Packers to trade Aaron Rodgers at his highest value. He's coming off an MVP season. Led the league last year, as we know, 48 touchdown passes. He had just 5 interceptions. He was crazy good, crazy efficient, led the league in QBR, led the league in passer rating. He's going to be only 38 by the time this season ends, which in quarterback years is still relatively young with what we saw last year and how well he played. We know Rodgers' desire to play well into his 40s, similar to what Tom Brady is doing. So you don't have to worry about a Brett Favre situation of Rodgers retiring in a year or two. Unless he completely does a 180. He's going to be around for at least another 3 or 4 years. So his value will never be higher than it is right now. Right? Waiting a year, even if Aaron Rodgers, let's say, sits out, and now there's some thought in Vegas that he could retire, and now Vegas is pulling all of their win totals, all of their prop bets with the Packers, taking them out. Because there is a thought in Vegas, or maybe even a fear, if you will, that if he doesn't, get traded, he'll sit out. So if you're the Packers, if that does happen, Rodgers doesn't want to play, you don't want to trade him, he sits out for 2022. Sure, the wear and tear on his body isn't there for a year, but his price is still going to be lower than what it is now. He's going to be a year older. He's not going to be coming out for MVP season. The value and the time to trade Aaron Rodgers, even though we're 6 weeks from the season, is now. Because you can still get 3 first-round picks back for Aaron Rodgers, I do think. If you're the Broncos, if you have the Dolphins maybe, the Eagles, you have teams that are still interested in Aaron Rodgers. You can get 3 first-round picks. So if you get 3 first-round picks for Aaron Rodgers, you get 2 first-round picks for Davante Adams. You can have 5 first-round picks plus your own draft picks. You can have 8 first-round picks the next 3 years. 8 first-round picks the next 3 years if you trade Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers right now. And as we know, again, the Packers have never gone all in to win a Super Bowl. They are the most concerned with sustainability, with long-term success, always being in the mix every single year. They don't have to be the Super Bowl favorites. They don't have to be the Super Bowl runaways in their mind. They want to be competitive. They want to give the reason to their fans to watch the Packers in December, to come to Lambeau Field, maybe come to a playoff game. That is their goal, just to make the playoffs. The Packers just want to be in the conversation. Well, the way, if you're Green Bay, you stay in the conversation for the next 10, 15 years is by having 8 first-round picks to supplant and put next to your young quarterback that you think is your future for the next 15 years. That's how you build a sustainable winner. By trading Aaron Rodgers, by trading Davante Adams now, when their value's at their highest, and not allowing them to walk out of the building at either lower cost or no cost in Davante Adams' case. So the news to me, from Ian Rappaport last week, about contract extensions or contract extension talks between Adams and the Packers getting stopped, not being talked about again, to me, highlights it's time to trade Adams. Time to trade Davante Adams. If you're going to trade Davante Adams, you also have to trade Aaron Rodgers. Get 5 first-round picks back, maybe even more. And start building your team with Jordan Love in mind. That, to me, is the best move, the best play for the Packers going forward. Do you agree? WWSRN_radio on Twitter. At Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter as well. Worldwide Sports Network on Facebook. If you're watching there, you can comment right there in the comment section. Tweet us. Right in the comment section. Is it time for the Packers to think about the future? Should they trade Aaron Rodgers? Should they trade Davante Adams? At WWSRN_radio on Twitter. At Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter as well. Worldwide Sports Network on Facebook is where you can give your thoughts. But it makes sense for Green Bay to make that move, blow it up for this year with the long term in mind. I think yes. What do you think? Get your thoughts. And when we come back, the Packers are a team that could be a top 10 team pick in the draft next year, could be a Super Bowl contender. A big boom or bust team. Are they the most boom or bust team in the NFL? We'll give you the top 5 teams that could make the playoffs, could be picking number 5. When the Ryan Hickey Show does return right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Do current market conditions have you nervous? Our experienced team of financial professionals at Heritage Harbor Financial Associates understands that no 2 investors are alike. We all have different goals, needs, and appetites for risk. That's why the one-size-fits-all approach does not work, especially when planning for retirement. At Heritage Harbor Financial Associates, we analyze your unique investment style so that you can work toward your individual retirement goals on your terms. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates can help you take steps to reach your retirement goals by providing a wide array of financial products to fit your needs, even for the risk adverse. Give us a call at 631-331-6599 to learn more or to set up an appointment with one of our financial professionals. You can also find us on the web at hhfa.org or on Facebook at facebook.com/hhfa.org. Our number again is 631-331-6599. That's 631-331-6599. Investments in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds and variable annuities are not FDIC insured and are subject to fluctuation in value, market market risk, including loss of principal. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates offers securities through AXA Advisors LLC, New York, New York. Member FINRA, SIPC, annuity and insurance products offered through AXA Network LLC.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor, and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit him online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And welcome back in to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. My voice continues to crack. We will work on it because it is sounding brutal. It sounds like I'm going through puberty. So my apologies there. Loss of voice somehow, despite not talking for a week, taking a week off from the show. Ironically, the voice gets worse the less you talk, at least in my case for today. So I apologize there. I'm trying to drink a lot of water, trying to get the throat opened up here, but maybe by Thursday's show, we'll be back to sounding not like a teenager going through puberty. That is the ultimate goal. And what we are talking about, though, is the Packers and what their plan should be going forward. Yet last week, the news came about that contract negotiation talks between Davante Adams and the Packers have hit a stalemate. Adams wanted to become the highest paid receiver in the NFL. The Packers, for whatever reason, were not able to make that happen, and the contract negotiation talks between the two sides have now stopped. Adams has 1 year left in his deal. This is it. Then he'll become a free agent after this season. I think, to me, this really hits the fact home. This should be the final nail in the coffin for the Packers. That, you know what? It's time to start thinking about the future. They've tried to play both sides. They've tried to be competitive in the short term while also maintaining long-term flexibility, long-term sustainability. It is time to scrap the short-term plan and go all in on Jordan Love. How do you do that? Trade Aaron Rodgers for 3 first-round picks. Trade Davante Adams for 2 first-round picks. If you're not going to extend and you're not going to get a contract with Davante Adams, which they should, don't you want to give Jordan Love a great receiver? It makes sense. But the Packers have not been able to give Adams the contract he wants. So if he's going to walk in free agency and all you're going to get back is a compensatory 3rd-round pick, that is a major failure on Brian Gutekunst, the GM, Mark Murphy, the CEO, the Packers organization as a whole. You cannot let that happen. That is the worst-case scenario. It's letting Davante Adams sign with whatever team he wants to and getting a compensatory pick back for the best receiver in the NFL. He is. He was the best receiver in the NFL. Last year, I think he, coming into this year, is number 1. Take this for what you will. Grain of salt. I'll put a little more stock into it. Madden is releasing their rankings for their upcoming game. They have Davante Adams as the only receiver at a 99. As we know, the 99 Club, very special. Not many 99s given out by EA Sports. Adams is one of them. So you cannot allow the best receiver in the game basically walk away for free. Trading him now, you'll get 2 first-round picks back. The Raiders got 2 first-round picks for Khalil Mack when they traded him on last year for his deal to the Bears. You will get 2 first-round picks back. Couple that with probably 3 first-round picks you get back for Aaron Rodgers. You have 5 now first-round picks in the next 2 or 3 years to build your team through the draft, which is what we know the Packers pride themselves on doing. Do you agree? I am Bruce writes in on Periscope. We appreciate listening. I am Bruce. He said, Packers, that's a lot of assets to get back. It's time for the Packers to make that move. They should trade Adams. And I agree. That's a ton of assets to get back, and that's a team that loves to have long-term flexibility. So now with Adams potentially leaving, it hammers home the point. There's no more short-term competitiveness of the Packers. They can try to go all in to win a Super Bowl this year with Aaron Rodgers, Davante Adams. But I'll say this. If you gave the Packers 2 options, right? They could win the Super Bowl this year with Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback, Davante Adams as a receiver, basically keep the entire team intact. You win the Super Bowl this year, but then the next 4 years, you go 7-0 or 7-10 every year or 8-9 every year, right? You miss the playoffs. You have an under 500 record. You can either win the Super Bowl and then the next 4 years, you're like, let's say 7-10, or you trade Rodgers, you trade Adams, and let's say you make the playoffs with Jordan Love 4 to the 5 years. Let's say 4 to the 5 years, you go 10-7 or 11-6. You don't win the Super Bowl, but you're in the playoffs every year. I truly do think the Packers would take option number 2. I think they would take 11-6 for 5 consecutive seasons without winning a Super Bowl, compared to winning the Super Bowl this year and then going 7-10 the next 4 years. I do. The reason why I feel that way is because we have seen time and time again the Packers get so close, be one piece away, and never want to make that move. Never want to give up a first-round pick. Never want to spend in free agency to get the tight end or get the defensive run stopper that they needed to put them over the top to be Super Bowl contenders, Super Bowl favorites. So they never went all in then because they want to maintain long-term sustainability. I don't see them going all in now. So scrap the short term. Instead now focus on the long-term success, which means trading Adams, trading Rodgers, get 5 first-round picks back, and build a team in Jordan Love's eyes. Do you agree? Worldwide Sports Network on Facebook is where you can comment if you're watching on Facebook. You can comment right there on the live stream. If you're listening through Twitter, we appreciate you. 2 ways to find the show on Twitter, at Ryan Hickey Show or WWSRN_radio. Tweet us, comment right there on the live stream as well. We'll read your thoughts and get them during the show. But one of the questions I asked, speaking specifically about the Packers now, right? Because look, if they trade Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams, let's go for what it is. They're going to be terrible this year. That's a 5-win team. If Jordan Love has to play or they bring in some stopgap quarterback because they're afraid to put Jordan Love on the field. And I think it'd be the wise decision to sit Jordan Love one more year and play him next year. But if they do trade Rodgers, they do trade Adams, this team is not going to make the playoffs. Hot take. So this team, the Packers right now, could either be Super Bowl contenders still this year if Rodgers somehow plays and Adams stays, or they get picking in the top 10, right? There's really a big fluctuation here, a big boom potential, big bust potential for the Packers. Are they the most boom or bust team in the NFL? We've been doing top 5 lists, getting you ready every show. To preview the NFL season. We will continue right here. The 5 most boom or bust teams in the NFL. Number 5, I have the Dallas Cowboys. Because every year, the hype is high, but the product on the field always ends up being low, right? It's every year, the Cowboys are dark horse Super Bowl contenders. The Cowboys are really going to make a run this year in the NFC. And then every year, what happens? They barely squeak into the playoffs, maybe win 1 game, and then that's it, or miss the playoffs. When you look at the Cowboys this year, right? Dak is back healthy. Assuming, and knock on wood, he doesn't get hurt again, he should be back for a full 17 game season, Looks healthy. As we know, before we got hurt, putting up some big time numbers, at least individually. Didn't all lead to wins, but he was putting up big numbers. He was looking good. So now you have Dak back healthy. The ankle seems to be fully healed. You have Ezekiel Elliott in the best shape of his life. I know every single athlete that's in a make or break year, that's maybe in a contract year, they always show up right in the best shape of their life. Well, Zeke at least could put stats to that. He's weighing and came into Cowboys camp weighing 218 pounds. That happens to be the lowest weight Zeke has weighed since his freshman year at Ohio State. So he's looking svelte. You still have great receivers in Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup. So the offense is loaded. They should put up numbers. And as we know, they won a few shootouts last year when Dak was healthy. The issue is their defense. 23rd in yards allowed in 2020. They had the second worst rush defense in all the NFL. They allowed almost 30 points per game, 29.6 points per game, 28th in the NFL. So they'll put up a lot of numbers. They'll put up a lot of points. They'll gain a lot of yards. The defense also is going to give up a lot of points, give up a ton of yards. They have not done a lot to address their defensive woes outside of firing Mike Nolan last year, their defensive coordinator, and bringing in and changing that up. So I look at the Cowboys. Sure, on paper, they have the roster, they have the talent to win the division. They are better than the Washington football team. They are better than the Eagles. They are better than the Giants. They have talent on paper. The issue is the talent on paper and the team on the field, the product on the field, never matches up. I think they're going to make the playoffs, which would be a big bust when you look at the team and talent on paper. So to me, the Cowboys are number 5 because every year we go in, Cowboys are going to make the playoffs, going to win the division. Dak is back. Maybe they're dark horse Super Bowl contenders. And every year they're fighting with injury-plagued Eagle team to squeak it to the playoffs at 8-8, and they would lose, and they end up missing it. I think the Washington football team is going to win the division. NFC is going to be a one-team playoff or a one-division, one team going to the playoffs from that division. Holy cow. Vacation brain still working. I think the Cowboys have a legit chance here to be one of the most boom or bust teams. They're number 5. Number 4, I have the Miami Dolphins because a lot of their success this season hinges upon how Tua Tagovailoa plays. And last year, to put it nicely, he was treated with kid gloves, right? Threw just 11 touchdowns, had 5 interceptions. He made 9 starts, but he averages 201 passing yards per game. The offense never really opened up for him. It looked like they were trying to make every safe throw possible. Tua is not really that aggressive. He looked gun shy a little bit. He admitted in the offseason that he didn't really know the playbook that well. He didn't know the playbook enough to where he would never audible at the line. Whatever play the offensive coordinator called was a play they're sticking with because Tua didn't know how to audible. So even if he knew the play wasn't going to work, he goes, I really don't know how to get out of it. We're going to just hope something crazy happens and it works out for us. So I do believe Tua will have a bounce-back 2021 season and play a lot better. But a lot of the success for Miami is riding upon how Tua plays. There's no Ryan Fitzpatrick to bail him out. It's going to be make or break for Tua this season. He'll be fully healthy, have a full offseason now with the Dolphins. He knows the offense. They added Jalen Waddle in the draft. They signed Will Fuller to add to one of the worst skill units in the NFL. Last year, the Dolphins had the worst compilation of skill players in the NFL. Now, at least you add 2 receivers to make that a little bit better. But also with Tua and with the Dolphins too, a lot of their success last year in going 10-6 was on the defense. They were first in the NFL last year. They had 29 takeaways, had the 3rd best turnover differential. They were +9. The only issue with that is that that's hard to replicate. They did a great job in forcing turnovers and getting defensive scores and putting the offense in great position to succeed with short fields. The thing, though, in the NFL is we have seen that getting a high turnover rate is really not that sustainable. A lot of it is luck. A lot of it is timing. Now, don't get me wrong. The defense last year, especially a lot of no-names, was tremendous. Brian Flores has a great scheme. But when it comes to actual turnovers, it's hard to replicate the success that they had in causing 29 turnovers. Almost 2 a game, right? Hard to replicate that. But I do think, the defense will be fine. Tua's going to play better. But if he doesn't, if Tua struggles and doesn't really improve that much in 2021, if the defense can't turn the ball over and their now differential is close to 0 or they have a negative turnover differential, I mean, what do you look at with the Dolphins here? 7 wins? 8 wins? I think they're a playoff team. I do. But there's also potential here for the Dolphins to miss the playoffs and be, for all the praise they've gotten the last 2 years, be in a big, pivotal offseason trying to figure out what their future should be. So this could be, a team if the defense doesn't step up the way they did last year. If Tua looks more like he did in 2020, this could be a team picking in the top 10. I think they'll make the playoffs, but there is potential here for the Dolphins to either be a playoff team or, picking 10th in the draft. They could go both ways. So we're talking about boom or bust NFL teams here. I have the Cowboys at number 5. I have the Dolphins at number 4. Number 3 for me is the New England Patriots. As we know, they made basically every single move they had in the offseason in free agency. I mean, Bill Belichick has been there for 20 years. They might have, it felt like they spent more money this past offseason free agency than they did the past 20 years combined. And that could work one of 2 ways. That could either you get a lot of veteran presence, you get a lot of known commodities coming into your team. That could work. They could be a playoff team. Or as we know, building through free agency doesn't really work. It's not sustainable, and it doesn't really, kind of work out more times than not. So this could blow up in Bill Belichick's face. And that's that's why to me the Patriots are number 3 in the boom or bust potential list. Right? They signed Matthew Judon, Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry, Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, Jalen Mills, Calvin Noy. I will give credit to Bill Belichick in this aspect. He has struggled with the draft, especially with higher picks. First and second round picks, he has struggled, especially on the offensive side of the ball. So he said, you know what? Instead of kind of repeating history, right? The definition of insanity is repeating the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results. Instead of continuing to draft another running back in the first round, instead of trying to draft another receiver in the first round, how about this? We go and get guys that we have seen play in the NFL and know they can play. That's what they did with getting Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry for tight end, Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne for receiver. They gave up on drafting skilled players in the draft. They instead, let's say, go through free agency. So I give Bill Belichick credit that he is not afraid to change his stripes, not afraid to deviate from what has worked for him so well for 20 years to cater to what he does well and doesn't do well now. So I give him respect there. But the thing with the Patriots is, one, it's dangerous to bring in that many free agents. And if they don't play well, as we know, free agency in the NFL, those guys age and they age quick. So it's tough to build and get everyone through free agency to play really well, number one. 2, a lot of the Patriots' success this year in 2021 is going to be contingent upon how their quarterback play is. Cam Jones. Well, it could be a combo of Cam Jones this year. Cam Newton or Mac Jones will one play, both play. I personally don't think Cam Newton should even start week 1. I think this should be Mac Jones' team from the jump. Bill Belichick has a weird loyalty for Cam Newton. If Cam Newton starts the year, or if Mac Jones can't even beat him out, and Cam Newton starts the year because Mac Jones isn't ready, I personally think the Patriots are in trouble. Cam Newton has an advantage over Mac Jones in terms of knowing the playbook, knowing the players, having familiarity with Josh McDaniels and what the system is. But the thing we talk about with Mac Jones, and one of the areas he gets a lot of praise in, is his mind. He's able to read defenses. He's able to process things quickly. He knows where to go with the football. Right? We saw it with Alabama. He's not going to beat you with his arm. He's not going to beat you with his legs. Hey, I mean, we talk about his athletic ability or lack thereof a ton. But he knew where to go with the ball, made quick decisions, and always made the right read. Well, if his mind is the strongest part of his game, and physically, I don't think Cam Newton has an advantage because, as you know, Cam Newton, even last year, looked old and banged up. The advantage that Cam Newton has, I think, will wear very quickly because Mac Jones, by all accounts, can pick up systems quick and is a great decision maker. But if he can't beat up Cam Newton, or, again, Bill Belichick has a weird loyalty where he feels like he has to start Cam Newton no matter what, Patriots, to me, are in trouble. If Mac starts the season, plays well, this is a playoff team. If Cam Newton starts, if Mac Jones can't beat out Cam Newton or comes in halfway through the year, I think that means the season could get ugly. So in terms of boom or bust, Cowboys 5, Dolphins 4, Patriots number 3. We're down to the top 2. The Packers, to me, are guaranteed to be in the top 2. Are they 2 or 1? Well, spoiler, they're going to be number 1 because my number 2 team is the Saints. The Saints this year are going to look very different than they were last year, right? New quarterback, obviously, with Drew Brees retiring. It's either going to be Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill. I think Jameis is going to be the quarterback. I think he will be good this year. I do. But also with Jameis, that's far from a guarantee to say he'll be good. I think going to New Orleans, I think having Sean Payton as his head coach and his quarterback coach, I do think will do Jameis a lot of good. He has tremendous arm talent. He still could throw the ball all over the yard, strong arm. Last time we saw him as a starter, led the league in passing yards through 33 touchdowns. His issue, as we know, is decision-making. 30 interceptions back in 2019 with the Bucs. So I do think that Sean Payton will make it easy for him, help him develop, help him learn, and not basically ask him to be the gunslinger that Bruce Arians asked him to be in 2019. But do I feel confident? Do I feel great saying that Jameis Winston is going to have a really good 17-game season? I don't. Every year, every game even is a roller coaster with Jameis Winston. I think we will have some sort of roller coaster in 2020. So you have the quarterback position in flux. Now you have the news that came out earlier this week, or I guess now that it's Monday, last week, was that Michael Thomas could potentially miss almost the first 2 months of the season. And the report from NFL Network and Ian Rappaport was that Michael Thomas had surgery on his ankle in June. The recovery time is 4 months. We don't know when in June, if it was June 1st or June 30th. But you do the math here. July, August, September. If it's June 1st, or you count June in there, he's going to miss at least all September. And if his recovery is a little slower, got it towards the end of June, he can miss most of, if not all of October. So now you have a new quarterback that's going to be in there without the best receiver for maybe almost half the year. You're missing one of their great defensive tackles, David Onyemata, for a 6-game PD suspension. Marshawn Lattimore got arrested, for a stolen gun charge this offseason. He could be facing discipline, maybe a 3-game suspension, maybe a 4-game suspension. Nothing's come down yet. I mean, he could be facing discipline from the league. They lost Trey Hendrickson, who was tied for second in the NFL with 13.5 sacks last year. This team, I'm telling you, is going to look a lot different. Even though Sean Payton is there, even though a lot of the core guys are there, it's going to be a lot different than they were in 2020. So to me, the roster is still good enough for them to make the playoffs. And especially with the back end of the NFC being weaker, right? The NFC is pretty top heavy with the Seahawks, I think the Rams, you have the Buccaneers. But towards the back end, when it comes to fighting for spots 6 and 7 in the wild card, I mean, we saw the Bears at 8-8 make the playoffs last year. The playoffs are gettable for the Saints to get a wild card. But that's also, they need a lot of things to go right. I mean, they need Jameis Winston to play well consistently. They need that defense to play well. They need Michael Thomas to be on the field for most of, if not all, the year. And this could be either a playoff team or, again, another team that is on the outside looking in, where they're going to have a really rough 2021 and have decisions to make. That's why I think the Saints are the number 2 most boom or bust team. And number 1, we just talked about them, the Green Bay Packers. Now, obviously, this is with a caveat because this is, and I think the assumption is correct, that Aaron Rodgers is not going to be on the team. I do think the Packers should also trade Davante Adams, basically blow up 2021. No team can go from a Super Bowl contender, right, which is what they are right now on paper. If Aaron Rodgers plays, if Davante Adams stays, they are a Super Bowl contender right now. They trade Rodgers, they trade Adams, they're a top 10 pick, they're arguably a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. No team can go from the top to the bottom quicker this year than the Packers. Even if Davante Adams stays, they trade Aaron Rodgers or he doesn't play. I mean, how good is this Packers team going to be? Whether it's Jordan Love, whether it's someone else they bring because they want Jordan Love to develop, they don't want to put him on the field too early. Whoever it's going to be is not going to be good. You can't really expect a lot from Jordan Love, who was the 3rd-string quarterback last year, to be a great quarterback in 2020. It's not going to happen. He needs time. He's a project. He needs time to develop. He's not going to step in 2021 and be a great quarterback. The team, the Packers' future is contingent upon one player. I think no other team can say that. They are contingent upon Aaron Rodgers. And right now, it does not seem like, to me, Rodgers is going to be in Green Bay. If he is, and I am wrong, this Packers team, I think, will, again, be in Super Bowl contention. They will win the division. They'll be one of the best teams in the NFC. But if things go how I think they go, Rodgers doesn't play. I think the Packers should trade Davante Adams. This team's going to stink. They are going to stink. So there's, to me, no team that's bigger boom or bust in the NFL than the Green Bay Packers. Do you agree? My top 5 list of boom or bust NFL teams. Cowboys at 5. Number 4, I have the Dolphins. 3 Patriots, 2 Saints. Number 1 is the Green Bay Packers. Who is the most boom or bust team in the NFL? Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network. Twitter, WWSRN_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter as well. We'll come back here in a few minutes. A big-time college news that broke last week. We were on vacation, but thankfully the story has stayed around so we could talk about it today because I, as you know, love college football. We are closing on in, almost a month out from the season starting. And we have some major news. Oklahoma and Texas are going to make a move from the Big 12 to the SEC. I think it makes sense for Oklahoma. I think it makes absolutely 0 sense for Texas. I'll tell you why I feel that way when the Ryan Hickey Show does return right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Uh-huh, okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. Waking up every day, lifting him from the bed to the wheelchair to the car to get him to therapy on time, it's no small task between the doctors and the diagnosis, but nothing can disable this love. This is my big brother, my hero. He's part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. See, there's no time for tired. This starts again tomorrow. He'll be waiting for me. I wake up for him. I know he needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community, or call 877-333-5885. Caregiving Resource Center. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do. Oh, tell the world I see. With an emoji. To stop the bullies.
Know someone who's being bullied online? Send the witness emoji. It looks like an eye in a speech bubble, and it's in the symbol section near the clocks in your phone. You'll let the world know it isn't cool, and you'll let your friend know you care. Learn more about the witness emoji at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It is the Ryan Hickey Show with you here, right on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, going until 11 a.m. Eastern. As a reminder, we're coming to you live, as we always do, from the Big Italy Pizzeria Studios, where it's great pizza, hot heroes, and phenomenal dinners. Make sure you check out BigItalyPizza.com to find a location near you. Massive college football news that continues to develop as the week goes on. Last week it came out, OU and Texas were exploring a move to the SEC, leaving the Big 12. And now today, after rumors, thoughts, it is going to be made official, it is believed, that today Texas and Oklahoma will officially inform the Big 12 that they are no longer planning to be a part of the conference. They are no longer going to renew their rights for TV contracts that expire after the 2024 season. And instead, they are going to make a move now to hope to join the SEC conference, which is assumed that the SEC conference will vote them in. So right now, Texas and Oklahoma is believed to make a move to the SEC. This move, in my mind, makes sense for Oklahoma. It makes absolutely zero sense for Texas. 0 cents in my mind in terms of monetarily, on the field, with recruiting. All different aspects of why Texas, I think, would want to go to the SEC. I think in my mind, it makes 0 sense for them to go. Do you agree? Does it make sense? Is it smart for Texas to leave the Big 12 for the SEC? Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network. Twitter, WWSRN_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter as well, always where you can tweet the show and comment live. Let's break down every avenue of the reasons why Texas would want to go to the SEC, and I'll tell you why I think it's a massive mistake. Let's start with the most obvious. Let's start with the biggest driving force here, money. That is the main motivation here for Texas and Oklahoma to go to the SEC, getting more money. Here's why, to me, money should not be a factor and doesn't matter for Texas. They already have tons of it. They have plenty of money. their cash shortage, or they don't have a cash shortage, I should say, that is the reason why they aren't competing for national titles. 2018, because this is the earliest or the most recent example I could find from the Wall Street Journal that has hard numbers to back this up. But the Wall Street Journal did projections for the most valuable college football franchises and what they'd be worth if they were on the open market getting bought and sold like pro sports teams. Guess who was the most valuable program in college football? This is back in 2018. Texas. They weren't even that good. That year in 2018, Texas had the nation's highest adjusted revenue, just under $165 million. The most valuable, they had the most adjusted revenue for 2018. So the reason why Texas wants more money, the reason why the SEC can offer more money than the Big 12 is these massive TV deals, right? For the 2019-2020 fiscal year, basically it's the 2019 football season, each Big 12 school received between $37 to $41 million for their TV contract rights. So every school got it. Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas State, TCU, Baylor, Texas Tech, you name it. Each received between $37 and $41 million. That same year, teams in the SEC, Missouri, Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Vanderbilt, received $45.5 million each. So not a terribly big gap, but between, let's say $3 or $4 million each SEC school was getting back in 2019 compared to what the Big 12 was getting that same year. Now, I will say the money is going to go up big time when the new ESPN deal with the SEC kicks in, when ESPN takes over for for CBS and having the most SEC games, right? SEC game of the week is always on CBS. ESPN is taking over that contract. They are flushing a ton of cash into the SEC conference. But here's also what I don't get. Like, everyone obviously wants more money, right? That's obviously the driving force for everyone. There's never enough money for even guys like Jeff Bezos, who still try to do whatever they can to get more and more money. But the thing with Texas is, not only do they have the most money of any program, not only do they have the most, basically the highest earning revenue of any athletic department, the money is not the reason why they are not successful in the field. Getting more money, getting a cash influx is not going to all of a sudden now make them national title contenders. They have nicer or the same facilities that Alabama has, that Georgia has, that Ohio State has, that Clemson has. They have a huge network. They have everything monetarily to compete to get recruits there, and it's still not working. So sure, you can always say, more money, more money, more money. Texas was doing fine with money. Money's not the reason why they weren't winning. So I don't think money should be, or in this case, is enough of an excuse to justify going from the Big 12 to the SEC. Texas will be fine. They will get their money. So, okay, I don't think money is a good enough reason. I don't think money is going to be enough of a reason to entice Texas to go to the SEC from the Big 12. Not only do they get enough money, they have plenty of resources to get kids there. Lack of funding is not the reason why Texas has not been successful on the field. Speaking of on the field, going to the SEC is sure as hell not going to give them a better chance to make the college football playoff than if they stay in the Big 12, right? Like, look, they can't even win the Big 12. We know the SEC is the toughest and best conference in college football. You could make the argument, the Big 12 is one of the weakest. And even being in the weakest conference or one of the weakest conferences, Texas still can't win. They can't win the Big 12. Third in 2020, third in 2019, second in 2018. Okay, oh wow, they finished second to Oklahoma. Sixth in 2017, seventh in 2016. Do you know the last time Texas we're talking about here, has won the Big 12? 2009. And guess what? It's not Oklahoma's winning the Big 12 every year and they just can't knock them off. I will read off the names here of some of the teams that have won the Big 12 more recently than Texas. Oklahoma, obviously, they've won the last 6 in a row. Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Baylor, TCU. You've had Baylor, TCU, Kansas State, Oklahoma State win the Big 12 more recently than Texas. Again, the last one coming back in 2009. So sure, once the college world playoff expands more recently, right? And they get 3 to 4 teams in, and the college world playoff expands to 12 teams. You probably get 3 or 4 SEC teams in, right? Fair on a given year. I think that's fair to say. They're already getting 2 and now in a 4-team college world playoff. They'll definitely get 3, probably most likely 4 on a given year when the playoff expands 12. Well, I'll ask you this. Okay, so the top 4 teams, let's say in the SEC, make the college world playoff when it expands. Is anyone picking Texas to finish 4th? 3rd? Are they going to be better than Oklahoma, who they can't beat? Better than Alabama? Georgia, who's recruiting better than almost anyone in the country? LSU? Florida? Auburn? Who is Texas beating that they're going to finish 2nd or 3rd in the SEC every single year make the playoff? So if they can't even win in right now in the Big 12, which again, I think it's fair to say is the weakest of the 4, maybe, or of the 5 power conferences, maybe because of the ACC, they've been down. But there's not a lot of competition outside of Oklahoma that's getting in the way for Texas. And there have been a few years where Texas has beaten Oklahoma, then can't take care of TCU, then can't take care of Baylor or Iowa State. And they end up losing the Big 12. So on the field, they are not anywhere closer to the college football playoff in the SEC than they are in the Big 12. If anything, they get further. I think the path to the college football playoff gets even way harder for Texas going to the SEC than it does in the Big 12. So money, I don't think it makes, there's not enough there that Texas already does really well with money. That's not the biggest reason why that they are not having success on the field. Sure as hell on the field, they're not coming anywhere close going to the SEC, making the college football playoff than if they stayed in the Big 12. And recruiting. Texas A&M, this is one of the best comparisons we can make here. So Texas A&M, as we know, was a member of the Big 12. They went to the SEC back in 2012. Texas A&M, one of the biggest things that they sell, one of the biggest reasons why they are against Texas and Oklahoma coming to the SEC is that they felt, and they have gotten a recruiting advantage since they went to the SEC. They are able to tell kids, we are the only school in Texas. If you want to stay home and play in the SEC, we're the only team to do so. And guess what? The recruiting has backed that up. The last 3 years they were in the Big 12 before they made the move to the SEC. 2009, 2010, 2011. In the recruiting rankings, they were 27th, 16th, 34th. They go to the SEC in 2012. That was the year Johnny Manziel, has that tremendous game. They upset Alabama in Alabama. Texas A&M, in the recruiting rankings since they moved to the SEC, 2012, 2013, 2014. 16th in recruiting rankings, 9th, 5th. So just going to the SEC, those first 3 years they were there, they were already saw a huge boost in recruiting. Well, that's great for A&M, but you know who doesn't have many recruiting issues? Texas. It's Texas. You don't need to be in the SEC for them to really try to get kids to go to Texas. You don't need the SEC to bolster your recruiting because they already recruit really well. They're 15th this year, that a drop off, but they were 8th in 2020, 3rd in 2019, 3rd in 2018. So it's not like Texas A&M where you're in the 20s and 30s when you're in the Big 12 trying to recruit. And all of a sudden you go to the SEC, now you can have top 10 classes in the recruiting rankings because you are the only school in Texas in the SEC. Texas recruits already really well just because they're Texas. They don't need the SEC to boost their profile to improve recruiting because they already have 3 top 10 classes the last 4 years in terms of recruiting rankings just by playing the Big 12. So I'll ask you this question. Is Texas saying, hey, we're playing in the SEC now, we're playing with the big boys, but you finish 5th and 6th every year. How is that going to improve recruiting? It's not. You improve recruiting by winning. And we just went through it. Texas hasn't won the Big 12 since 2009. When Colt McCoy was there. They went to the national title game against Alabama and lost. They have never won a Big 12 title since Mack Brown has left. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. I don't see them all of a sudden now getting any closer to the college football playoff now that they're in the SEC. And if you're not any closer to the college football playoff in the SEC, I don't see how that improves recruiting. Because kids can go elsewhere, still make the playoff, play early, and compete. So I don't see Texas, right? And the main goal is to be title contenders, right? Your main goal is to try to make the college football playoff. Excuse me, holy cow. Wow, first show back, still trying to get all the kinks out. But Texas, the main goal is always to win, right? Their alumni base wants to win. Everything is fueled about Texas being back, quote unquote. I don't see how going to the SEC makes Texas back in any way. If anything, it makes it further away. The opposite of back. Because they are not going anywhere closer. They are not getting anywhere closer to being quote unquote back by going to the SEC. Money, on the field results, recruiting, to me, nothing is going to improve dramatically and drastically by going to the SEC and leaving the Big 12. That is going to all of a sudden have them be more competitive than they are right now. So that's why I think this is a massive, massive mistake for Texas to leave the Big 12 and go to the SEC. Do you agree? Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network. Twitter, WWSRN_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter as well. Do you think it's a good idea for Texas to leave the Big 12 and go to the SEC? I think it makes sense for Oklahoma. I'll explain that when we come back. But I think this is a big mistake for Texas. I do. So get your thoughts. And when we do return, now that Oklahoma and Texas are out, does that mean it's the end of the Big 12? We'll discuss that when the Ryan Hickey Show returns right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Of course my kid's in the right car seat. Well, I think he is.
Yeah, my kid's in a booster seat. He was ready to move up. He is ready, right?
Her car seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing? I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures, a stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college. This is beyond a simple donation. It's the opportunity for America to invest in its kids and take an active stake in the future of the country. The return on your investment isn't money. What you get back is knowing you protected our potential. So one day, that potential can grow up to become surgeons and architects, executives and engineers, people who can change the future just by being a part of it. My name is Alicia, and I'm your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
This is Nnamdi Asamoah. I play football for the Philadelphia Eagles, but what I do off the field with United Way might be more important. I'm a volunteer tutor and mentor. Why? Because over 1 million kids a year drop out of school, and that's not okay. It takes 12 years to create a graduate, but it takes about the same time to create a dropout. And the difference between a child becoming one or the other could be me, or it could be you. Studies show that if we get to these kids earlier, their chances are better. And kids who read well by 3rd grade are more likely to graduate. So join me in United Way. Suit up and take the pledge. Become a volunteer reader, tutor, or mentor. Because when a child succeeds, we all succeed. Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Take the pledge at unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way, the Ad Council, and the National Football League.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And welcome back into the Ryan Hickey Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, going until 11 a.m. Eastern. Chen, Oklahoma and Texas leaving the Big 12 reportedly for the SEC. is believed later today. Both schools will inform the Big 12 Conference they are not going to renew their rights that expire after 2024. They're going to look to leave and to join the SEC. I think the move for both Oklahoma and Texas to go to the SEC is good for the Sooners, bad for the Horns. I get Oklahoma. To me, they are more competitive, or they're competitive enough that they can hold their own in the SEC. If you want to grow your profile even more, fine. I have no problem with it. I think Lincoln Riley will be fine. The Oklahoma program can become even better, get even more money if they want, and bolster their recruiting, bolster their brand, even though it's extremely strong. I think competitively, they'll be fine. I think it'll be a fun challenge to watch Alabama, Oklahoma, Georgia, Oklahoma, LSU, Oklahoma in the regular season going forward. I don't think this move makes any sense for Texas. They can't even win the Big 12. They have not won a Big 12 title since 2009. They can't even finish in the top 2, barely. They have been to one Big 12 title again. That was back in 2018 in the last 5 years. Third, second, sixth, seventh. So if they can't even have success in the Big 12, now they're going to go to the SEC, compete with Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Auburn, Florida on a weekly basis and think they're going to have success? Absolutely not. So if you want to try to get closer to the college football playoff, when it expands to 12 teams, you're going to get 3 or 4 SEC teams in. What makes you think Texas is going to finish 4th in the SEC? Going to finish 3rd in the SEC on a consistent basis when they can't even finish 3rd or 4th in the Big 12? I don't think it makes much sense from an on-the-field perspective. Recruiting, they already have good recruiting classes. A&M made the big move, and they saw a big spike in recruiting when they left the Big 12 to go to the SEC. The reason why they saw a big spike was because their recruiting was not good. The last 3 years before they went to the SEC, they were 27th in recruiting rankings, 16th and 34th. The first 3 years after they go to the SEC, 16th, 9th, 5th. They saw a big spike because they were able to have Texas kids stay home and play in the SEC. Texas A&M needed the juice. Texas doesn't need the recruiting juice that the SEC gives you. They were 3rd in 2018 recruiting rankings, 3rd in 2019, 8th in 2020. They recruit nationally really well every single year. They don't need the SEC to bolster their recruiting rankings because all you got to do is say, we're Texas. Even though the success hasn't been there, kids still respect the brand. Kids are still going there. And I get, look, the main force here, I'm not stupid, is money. Texas is the most profitable football team in the country. They have a ton of money. I understand everyone who has a lot of money always wants more. But money isn't the reason that's holding Texas back. Getting a few extra mil a year is that going to all of a sudden boost Texas to be a national title contender? They have the best resources. They have a ton of cash. They just can't do anything with it to improve the on-the-field product. That's why I don't think this move to the SEC is smart for Texas at all. I don't think it will benefit them. I think it will hurt them more than it will help them. Do you agree? Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network. Twitter, WWSRN_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter as well. The inevitable, though, seems like it's going to happen. There's no turning back now. Texas and Oklahoma are going to leave the Big 12. So what does this mean? What does this mean for the Big 12? Can they survive? My issue is, unfortunately, I don't think they will. This is going to mark the end of the Big 12 Conference. Because just like a house crumbles when you take the foundation out, or the foundation is weak, the Big 12 is going to crumble without OU and Texas because they were the bedrock. They were the cornerstone. They were the foundation of the Big 12 Conference. That conference was built on Texas and Oklahoma. Let's not forget, when the last round of realignment came about a decade ago in 2011, when you had Colorado go to the Pac-12, you had Nebraska go to the Big Ten, A&M and Mizzou both left to go to the SEC. You had a lot of fluidity within the Big 12, a lot of uncertainty. The reason the Big 12 didn't crumble a decade ago was because 2 teams stayed, Texas, Oklahoma. With those 2 now gone, with the foundation now ripped out from under the house, it's going to crumble. And it's sad. I like the Big 12. A lot of fun football. Unfortunately, though, they cannot still stand without the two biggest brand names there. Because every conference needs a juggernaut. Every conference needs a revenue monster to not only kind of bring some juice, but also bring some respect to the conference. Excuse me. Every conference has that now except for the Big 12. The SEC, as we know, they have Alabama, they have Georgia, they have LSU. Now you're adding two more in Texas and Oklahoma. SEC has plenty of those revenue juggernauts that bring respect, that bring prominence to the conference. ACC, Clemson, as we know, has been a dominant force, but before that, Miami's always still a big brand name that brings a lot of eyeballs, that brings a lot of attention to the conference. Big 10, Ohio State, Michigan, plus a few others, Penn State, Wisconsin, Nebraska. But the two main ones, especially in the Big 10, Ohio State, Michigan. Pac-12, USC, and Oregon. Who does the Big 12 have? Kansas State? TCU? Oklahoma State? If you remember, if you just joined us, welcome. But if you were listening last segment, we were talking about Oklahoma and why I think this is a bad move for Texas to go to the SEC. We referenced the Wall Street Journal value rankings for programs. Texas was number one. So I was looking at those rankings. I went back. This is for 2018, the most recent data I could find personally about the most profitable and most valuable college football brands. Texas was number one in all of the country. Oklahoma was seventh. So now with those two leaving, who is the most valuable brand the Big 12 has? Do you want to take a guess really quickly? 8 teams left right now. The most valuable brand in terms of the Wall Street Journal, when they did this back in 2018, was Kansas State. Kansas State was ranked 29th, and Oklahoma State was 30th. So now with Oklahoma and Texas, the two big juggernauts, the two big prominent names in college football in the conference now out. In terms of value, in terms of brand, in terms of revenue, Kansas State and Oklahoma State are the two breadwinners. They're 29th and 30th. I'm sorry, you can't have a conference survive with Kansas State being your biggest draw. So right now they have 8 teams. Even if you go pluck, let's say, UCF or Houston or SMU from the AAC to bring those teams into the conference, it's not going to change much. There's not enough juice with UCF or Houston or SMU that's going to now have TV networks flooding that Big 12 conference with a ton of cash. That's where it's at. That is where it's at. Who can give, which network can you get the best deal from? As we know, like, what have we known in this streaming world? Obviously, there's plenty of different avenues, but people want to watch the best. That's why SEC or ESPN is shelling out millions and millions and millions of dollars to be able to get the streaming rights for the SEC. Because people want to watch Alabama and Georgia and now Oklahoma and Texas. For the Big 12, no offense to them, no one's going to want to watch Kansas State take on TCU or Oklahoma State take on Iowa State. I'm a big college football fan. I'll watch. Nationally, people won't watch. The best thing I think the Big 12 can do right now, because I think they're crumbling. I don't think they can survive without Texas and Oklahoma. The best thing they can do is to basically merge with the Pac-12 and have that conference basically absorb it, call what you want. Southwest Conference, we can get creative here with conference names. But I think it's in the best interest, not only of the Big 12, I think it's also in the best interest of the Pac-12. Merge these two leagues together, form a 20-team conference. And this actually could potentially happen because Bruce Feldman of The Athletic, very plugged in, very tremendously talented reporter. Last week when the Big 12 athletic directors had a conference call to discuss basically the future of what they're going to do with Texas and Oklahoma leaving, one of the discussions was to team up to form a 20-team mega conference with the Big 12. I think this will save both the Big 12 and the Pac-12 for this reason. Excuse me, trying to water that throat down. Oh, it's been scratchy all day. My apologies. We'll hopefully get the voice fixed by Thursday's show. But the reason why I think the Big 12 and the Pac-12 merging together is the best option for both is that I think it will help save both conferences. Because let's also not fool ourselves here. Realignment is not done, right? Texas and Oklahoma leaving the Big 12 for the SEC. It's not the final domino that's going to fall here in terms of realignment. This is only really the first. This kind of opens the door, opens Pandora's box, if you will. And I don't know where college football is going to go landscape-wise. Like, now you have an unprecedented move of two powerhouse schools with big brands going to the SEC, I don't know who's next. But I will say this, if I'm the Pac-12, I see those two schools leaving, I get nervous that, you know what? What if Oregon? What if USC? What if they get the same idea as Texas and Oklahoma and they want to go to the Big Ten, or they want to go to the SEC or the ACC? They get crazy. As we know, geography does not limit anything. West Virginia is in the Big 12, flying out to Texas every other weekend, despite the fact they're on the East Coast. Houston and Temple, Houston, Philadelphia are in the same conference. Geography does not matter anymore when it comes to divisions. So if you're USC and Oregon, if you want to go for the biggest payday and the SEC comes knocking or the Big Ten comes knocking, are you really going to say no? So if I'm the Pac-12, because their financials are similar to the Big 12 and that they don't have great TV deals, the two biggest draws to that conference are the Ducks and the Trojans. So if they are done kind of carrying the weight for the conference, if they want to get a payday they deserve that they think is bigger than what they're getting right now, it's out there. Big 10, ACC, SEC, the money's out there. So I think it makes sense for the Pac-12 and the Big 12 team up together, get a massive 20-team league, and start to build your own super conference. You have more teams than the SEC, and you try to gear up for what is going to be an arms race in terms of getting the biggest and strongest conferences in college football. I think in the end, we'll have three power conferences. SEC, Big 10. I don't think the ACC will stay strong, to be honest, going forward, and some combination out west of the Big 12 and the Pac-12. So you don't want, if you're the Pac-12, to give the idea of USC and Oregon could bolt. I think doing that, combining with the Big 12, kind of save two leagues in one, would be very smart for a 20-team mega conference that I think could help keep USC and Oregon in town. But unfortunately, though, with Texas and Oklahoma leaving, I do think this marks the end of the line for the Big 12 conference. I don't think they can survive. Bringing in SMU, Houston, UCF, Temple, you name it, Cincinnati, trying to raid the AAC, I don't think it's going to be enough to save the conference. I don't. Sad, but that's the way college football is now with Oklahoma, Texas leaving. It's going to be mayhem in college football. We'll see the next domino to fall. If I'm the Pac-12, I am praying it's not Oregon. I am praying it is not USC. Now, I think moving right now to form a 20-team league would best suit both the Big 12 and the Pac-12. When we come back, we talked a lot of college football. If you have any thoughts, can the Big 12 survive? Would you want to see a Big 12, Pac-12 super conference? Who else should be invited to the SEC? I think 16 teams, I do think is enough. I don't think the SEC and its members would be wise to add Clemson and Ohio State. Because after a while, too, you got to also realize these teams want to be competitive. If you're Alabama and your schedule is already hard as it is, and you add Oklahoma, and you add Ohio State, and you add Clemson, like, at what point, 7-6 is going to make a miracle season with how tough it is. You want to give yourself a shot here. So I don't think expanding to basically include all of the biggest brands in college football is something the SEC is interested in. I think 16 right now, I think it's going to stop the SEC for a while. But I do think mayhem is going to really kind of come to college football, and a lot of different moves will be made to realign. This is the first domino to fall with Oklahoma and Texas leaving, not the last. So get your thoughts again. Facebook Worldwide Sports Network, Twitter, WWSRN_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter as well. When we do return, we talked and started the show with Deshaun Watson. The Texans, according to Tom Pelissero of the NFL Network, are now finally open to listening to deals, listening to trade offers for Deshaun Watson. There's one team that continually gets tossed around that to me makes zero sense for Deshaun Watson to go to. But it's the popular pick. Tell you why it makes no sense for Deshaun Watson when the Ryan Hickey Show does return on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Do current market conditions have you nervous? Our experienced team of financial professionals at Heritage Harbor Financial Associates understands that no two investors are alike. We all have different goals, needs, and appetites for risk. That's why the one-size-fits-all approach does not work, especially when planning for retirement. At Heritage Harbor Financial Associates, we analyze your unique investment style so that you can work toward your individual retirement goals on your terms. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates can help you take steps to reach your retirement goals by providing a wide array of financial products to fit your needs, even for the risk adverse. Give us a call at 631-331-6599 to learn more or to set up an appointment with one of our financial professionals. You can also find us on the web at hhfa.org or on Facebook at facebook.com/hhfa.org. Our number again is 631-331-6599. That's 631-331-6599. Investments in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds and variable annuities are not FDIC insured and are subject to fluctuation in value and market risk, including loss of principal. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates offers securities through AXA Advisors LLC, New York, New York. Member FINRA, SIPC. Annuity and insurance products offered through AXA Network LLC.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor, and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit him online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next-door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council. Okay, Simon, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. And what do people normally wear?
Clothes.
Exactly. So now Mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Clothes keep us warm, they look good, and if we go out without them, the neighbors will talk. So it's important to know how to get dressed. Here's how it's done. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole, or you have to start all over. If you're wearing a tie, it goes over, round, through, and pull tight. Tuck your shirt into your pants and zip up your fly. Socks going first, then shoes, right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears.
I love bunnies.
Good to know. Now remember, spots don't go with stripes, socks don't go with sandals, and if you've tucked in your shirt, wear a belt. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
So you see, son, good manners are very, very important. Someday, many years from now, when you're a grown-up, you'll be a man. And when you are, you should be a gentleman. Do you want me to go through it one more time?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Exactly. Always say please, thank you, you're welcome, and excuse me. Sit up straight, hold doors open for ladies. If a door's shut, then knock first. Don't burp, don't swear, don't speak with your mouth full, don't reach across people's plates, keep your elbows off the table.
What table?
And don't interrupt. While we're at it, don't stare, don't use foul language, don't call people names, but do remember people's names. Always share your toys, play nice, and cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. On the bus, give up your seat to anyone who has trouble standing bottom line. Treat others the way you'd like to be treated. Got it?
Got it.
And stop picking your nose.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
Hey, there he is. How's it going? I'm having a stroke. Are you going to shake my hand or what? I'm having a stroke. Wow, you're not even moving your arm. I'm having a stroke.
Are you okay?
I'm having a stroke.
Your face looks weird, too.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you having a seizure or something?
I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear.
I'm having a stroke.
You just need to know the sudden signs. Look for FAST, F-A-S-T. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. Or S, speech difficulty. Then T, time. Time to call 911 immediately, because the sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. Know the sudden signs. Face, arm, speech, time. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Few more minutes left on this Monday edition of the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. We're here every Monday, every Thursday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. on plenty of different streaming platforms. Facebook, we're at Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Twitter, WWSRN_radio. YouTube, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Our app, WWSRN, easy to download for iOS, Worldwide Sports Radio Network for Android. And our website, worldwidesportsradio.com. So we started the show discussing the big news this morning that was reported by Tom Pelissero that the Texans are listening to trade offers for Deshaun Watson. They have finally changed their stance. Right? All offseason, ever since January when Deshaun Watson claimed or demanded, I should say, a trade from the organization, they have said, we're not trading Deshaun Watson. We're not listening to offers. We are standing still. We are staying put in believing Deshaun Watson will be a member of the Texans. Well, now, yesterday he reported to Texans training camp in order not to be fined $50,000 a day. And this morning, Tom Pelissero reports that the Texans now are indeed listening to offers. And there's one team that's been rumored this entire time, ever since really, I'll say the draft, because there's plenty of teams that were rumored to get Deshaun Watson. But since the draft comes, plenty of teams take quarterbacks. You had the Bears take a quarterback. You had the Panthers trade for Sam Darnold. A lot of quarterback movement. You had the 49ers draft Trey Lance. So really, ever since the draft came and went, there's been one real team that's been rumored to be the favorites, if you will, to trade for Deshaun Watson because they had the draft capital, and that's the Philadelphia Eagles. They do. They have 2 first-round picks when they traded with the Dolphins back in the draft, so they got the Dolphins' first-round pick for next year. They could have the Colts' first-round pick for the 2022 draft if Carson Wentz basically stays healthy. And as a Colts fan, I hope he does. But if he plays 70% of the snaps for the Colts this year, that second-round pick the Colts gave up will turn into a first. So next year, the Eagles could have 3 first-round picks at their disposal. Plenty of draft capital, plenty of trade ammo to get Deshaun Watson to town, right? That's enough to entice the Texans, who want at least 3 first-round picks and more, according to what Pelissero is saying. So they want a big haul for Deshaun Watson. One issue, though, if you're an Eagles fan that wants Deshaun Watson on your team, if you're a betting man, a gambling man, that you think, I'm going to throw a few bucks down that Deshaun Watson is going to land on the Eagles. One issue with that, Deshaun Watson has a no-trade clause, so he has to approve any team he gets traded to. There is no shot Deshaun Watson is approving a trade to go to the Eagles. No shot. Because guess what? The Eagles, they have a lot of the same problems the Texans do. Maybe not to the same scale or level, but those two, in terms of dysfunction, are pretty damn close. So let me ask you this question. Why would Deshaun Watson want to demand a trade, force his way out of a team that's super dysfunctional, to get traded to another team that has their own dysfunction in the front office, their own issues with the roster on the field, and want to play there? Makes no sense. Because let's look. Philly's front office, just like Houston's front office, is a complete mess. Now, we know the front office of the Houston Texans specifically. Whether it was Cal McNair, the owner, whether it's Jack Easterby, the apparently the most powerful man in terms of the Texans organization, Watson was not happy with the direction, with the leadership of the Texans front office going forward. The process to find the new GM, process to find the new head coach, he thought was very poor, did not inspire confidence, He did not want to be a member of the team anymore after seeing that process go down. Well, you look at the Eagles. Eagles are a mess as well. And you had owner Jeffrey Lurie basically drag out Doug Peterson's future for a week before deciding to fire him. Not only was that a total mess, he also retained GM Howie Roseman, who, for some reason, despite having poor draft classes, missing on guys, reaching on other players, having some free agent moves backfire completely in the last few years, his job is safe. He's not on the hot seat. His job is safe, despite the fact that every person with a brain and eyes who's watched the Eagles since their Super Bowl run in 2017, they have gotten worse every year. They're repeating as Super Bowl champions, as forming a dynasty in Philly. This team has gotten worse every single year. And despite that, Harry Roseman's job apparently is in no jeopardy because Jeffrey Lurie, the owner, said, oh, just picking the players in the draft, just signing players in free agency, that's just a part of the GM duties that he has. He has a lot of other roles that we are satisfied in, that he's doing well in. Well, what are those roles? Can someone tell me what those roles are, please? Because if you're not really prioritizing what a GM does on the draft, when you're not really too concerned about the GM signing players, and those aren't two reasons to fire someone, what the hell are we doing in Philly then? Like, honestly, how is anything going to get better? So if you're Deshaun Watson, obviously you want to get anywhere but Houston. I get that. But Philly, you're going to go from one dysfunctional team to another? How does that make sense? Because it's not just the front office either. It's also the roster. Texans have the worst roster in football. It is honestly a miracle that they won 4 games last year. That team was going 0-16 if anyone but Deshaun Watson is quarterback. Tyrod Taylor, A.J. McCarron, I believe is the backup there. Like anyone, if Deshaun Watson got hurt week 1, the Texans are going 0-16. Their roster was terrible. Well, you look at Philly, the roster is not that much better. Deshaun Watson has gotten hit and hit and hit. Right? He's one of the most sacked quarterbacks since he came into the league. You go to Philly, that O-line is old and banged up. And the young guys they drafted have not panned out. Howie Roseman and others swing and miss in the draft, trying to build the offensive line through the draft. So you look at the O-line that is banged up, that is aging quickly. You look at the skilled players, not really giving you a lot of confidence. I like Miles Sanders. He's been a great running back. But the receivers don't exactly inspire hope. You had Jalen Reagor, who the Eagles felt like they never really knew how to figure out. Not Nelson Aguilar. You had other receivers that couldn't stay healthy on the field, even if they were. Alshon Jeffrey is who I was thinking of, that, couldn't stay healthy. He was fine when he was on the field, but then couldn't get healthy. He's another guy that's aging. So the skill positions aren't exactly great players. You're basically going to Houston 2.0. A little less dysfunction, a little bit better roster, but it's not that much different from Houston. So it's weird because you always see the Eagles name popping up. Oh, the Eagles are in great position to get Deshaun Watson. The Eagles are, in terms of having draft assets, absolutely the perfect, one of the best teams, maybe arguably the best team in terms of draft capital to give the Texans to get Deshaun Watson. But Watson has no trade clause. He has to agree to the trade as well. It makes 0 sense for Deshaun Watson to accept a trade to the Eagles. They stink. He wants to go to a winner. Eagles are not that. They have a long way to go. And they have similar pieces with Harry Roseman still being employed despite the fact that he really can't build the team recently. He gets credit for what he did in 2017, don't get me wrong. But since that Super Bowl, he has struggled to fill out the roster. He struggled in the draft. He struggled in free agency. Injuries have been a big concern. It has been a mess in Philly. And I don't think that is the recipe that Deshaun Watson wants. You don't want to go from one mess to another. That's why I don't think, despite the fact the Eagles have been one of the most rumored teams, quote-unquote favorite to land Deshaun Watson, doesn't make any sense. I don't see how Philly is that much different than the Texans. Too similar. So I think that despite the fact that everyone's kind of been like, oh, Deshaun to the Eagles, I don't see it happening. So if you're a gambler, I'd put your money elsewhere. If you're an Eagles fan, I would not get your hopes up. Because I don't think Deshaun Watson would say yes to a trade to the Eagles. Speaking of trades, before we get out of here quickly, we want to really recap a point I had earlier. And that was, I think it's time for the Packers to embrace the future. I think they should trade Aaron Rodgers. They should trade also Davante Adams. If you are not able to get a contract extension done, which according to reports from Ian Rappaport and others last week, those negotiations between Adams and the Packers hit a stalemate. Adams wanted to be the highest paid receiver, I should say, in the NFL. Packers could not have a number that reached that, and the talks stopped. So now you have Davante Adams in the last year of his deal. Going to be a free agent next year. If you can't get an extension with him done now, you cannot allow him to walk as a free agent and get a compensatory pick back for the best receiver in the game. He is, last year, the best receiver in the NFL coming into this 2021 season. I do think he is the best receiver in the game. The only 99 rating in Madden for receivers. Take that with what you will. But you cannot allow a guy that talented to walk out the door for essentially nothing. You trade Adams now, you get 2 first-round picks back, just like Khalil Mack got 2 first-round picks back for the Raiders, just like Jalen Ramsey got 2 first-round picks back for the Jaguars, despite both the Rams and the Bears having to sign those players to long-term deals. Same thing's going to happen here. Whoever trades for Adams, you're going to give up a boatload of picks, but also then have to sign him to a massive deal, which is worth it. So if you can get 2 first-round picks back for Adams, plus another 3 first-round picks if you trade Aaron Rodgers, you're looking at 5 first-round picks in the next 2 or 3 years to build your team around Jordan Love. The Packers love building their team through the draft. And if Jordan Love is going to be the future, which they are dead set on, it seems like, because they're unable to get a deal done with Aaron Rodgers and give him some long-term security, if they are dead set on Jordan Love being the future, well, giving him 5 extra first-round picks to build the roster around him, to me, is the best way to do so. The Packers prioritize long-term sustainability over short-term Super Bowl wins. The best way to give yourself long-term sustainability, to guarantee you'll be good for the next 10 years, is getting 5 first-round picks and just flooding your roster with young, cheap talent. The Packers never go all out in free agency. So if they're not going to get a deal done with Adams, they'd be doing themselves a disservice by running it back this year, bringing Rodgers back or trying to get Aaron Rodgers back, even if you don't, bringing Davante Adams back. It makes the most sense in the world for the Packers to trade Davante Adams. It does. It does. We'll see what happens. I don't think it will, to be honest, but that's the move the Packers should make. So that will do it for this Monday edition of the Ryan Hickey Show, back from vacation. Good news, no vacations planned for a while. So I know it was tough. We had a little week vacation, week back, another week off, but I promise you we are here now for the long haul. Maybe one thing lined up in the future between now and Labor Day, but before that, we are here and ready to do the show. So the entire month of August, the Ryan Hickey Show will be back on the normal schedule, Monday and Thursday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. We appreciate all you who tuned in and joined on this Monday morning. A lot of fun. Really glad to be back here. Hope you enjoyed the show as well. Have a great rest of your week. Stay safe as always. Stay sane, and we will talk to you on Thursday, 9 a.m. Where else but the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.